folks, Dude here. Coming to you again. Another episode of Dude After Dark. And we're going to be basically doing probably, more than a little bit of probable content that it's going to make, certain members of our society very, very mostly unhappy. But you know what? I really, truly just don't care. So what's going to happen here is those people on the Facebook side of things, what we're going to do is we're going to do obviously a YouTube version. I'll strip a copy of this and I'll just upload it to Facebook later. So there might be like a day or so delay. Nothing major, nothing crazy. Just, it's just the way that happenstance seems to happen. And that's the way stuff seems to work. So that's what I'm going to do. Excuse me. I got like something glaring at me off the side here. Okay, that's better. All right. So anyway, distractions off to the side where things are just like, you're trying to do stuff and, you're just working it. And then, things are just on the offside and they're just messing with you. And you're just trying to deal with just strange things, just offsides screwing with you. Okay. Yeah, that wasn't quite what I was thinking there, sound guy, but okay, whichever. So anyway, looking at the stock of stuff, I do have a fairly good amount of things. There is, right off the bat, I cannot begin to tell you how much fun this is to watch in the phrase of Schadenfreude. But the scheme of things, it seems to be that all of the gun control mythos of which the other side of the aisle seems to ascribe themselves as like, this is worthy, we know bad guys are just going to follow the law. If we make enough laws, the bad guys will just follow the laws. Nah, not really. That's not exactly how it works. So anyway, what seems to be happening here is the gun control that's really just reprehensible stuff that seems to be coming out by the wayside. It is getting taken down by piece and parcel. Another case of things going to court and things not working out for them, like a cat screwing around. Things not working out for them in the situation of the courtroom is there is now a secondary thing which seems to have happened now. This is coming from Newsmax.com, but U.S. court rules banning guns for adults 18 to 20 are found to be unconstitutional. Now, here's the thing that I really find to be truly bloody annoying. I don't know if it's like in all states in the union, but it's definitely in my state of the union. You need to be 21 years of age in which to purchase tobacco products, unless you have an active military ID card. Then you present yourself to saying, oh, look, I got my military ID card. I'm under 21. I can basically enhance my cancer choices by imbibing upon tobacco. And so that's the way that one works. So essentially what it is you're 18, you're allowed to vote. 18, you're allowed to serve your nation. 18, you can die for your country. It's like that song that was kind of big back in the 1980s, 19, whatever it was. And they were talking about all the kids that truly were the war dead, and majority in Vietnam happened to be the age of 19. Yeah, there was a lot of guys that died at the age of 19. As a matter of fact, one of my friends, not a Vietnam veteran, but a veteran nonetheless, he didn't make 21. And obviously it was a training accident. It wasn't actually active combat. He was in Desert Storm 1 and made it back safely and unfortunately died in a training accident in California. But that's neither here nor there. Gentleman's been gone for quite a long time now. And I still have fond memories of him. He's still one of my brothers from another mother and dearly missed. So anyway, what they've seen here is this is going to be an article posted by Eric Mack. Federal Appeals Court ruled Tuesday that regulations settling a minimum age of 21 for handgun purchases from licensed dealers violates the Second Amendment rights of those citizens. Now, this is getting interesting, folks. The three-judge panel in a fourth U.S. Court of Appeals delivered the ruling in a split 2-1 vote with the appointee of former President Donald Trump. This is when it's getting interesting, folks. This is why they say it really is so important with who you put in the White House is to those guys that they put into the court seats. Very important stuff. With the appointee of former President Donald Trump writing the majority opinion, arguing the law regulated, quote, either the Second Amendment or 18 to 20-year-olds as second-class citizens, end quote. Good stuff. Quote, looking at this through the historical lens, the text and structure of the Constitution reveals that 18 to 20-year-olds have Second Amendment rights. Judge Julius N. Richardson wrote, virtually every other constitutional right applies whatever the age, and the Second Amendment is no different. Stand by on this one, folks. This thing's got legs, it's got teeth, and all these pieces of gun control legislation that the Democrat Party has foisted upon the American public, I don't think it's going to work out for them in the long run because, very simply put, you can see them on their face as to whether it is a worthy piece of legislation. Does it intrude upon your first, second, third, 10th, 14th, 15th, all these amendment rights of which have limitations upon the government. Now, here's the thing that really tends to get flipped on its head. Most people really, truly don't pay attention to. But the amendments of the Constitution do not give limitations to you. They place limitations upon the government from those rights given to you by your creator, of which that was the words in which they stated in the Constitution. Translation, those are rights given to you by God. So, let no man trod upon those rights given to you by the Almighty. And essentially what it is the Constitution, if you read it for what it is, those guys were absolutely just blanking geniuses, and they knew of which they spoke. They just come out of being under the thumb of, one of the Georges, one of the, the British kings. And they knew essentially that it was going to be a situation where they really, truly needed to just make things happen, that they weren't going to go through it again. They needed to have limitations upon the government to say that the government may not do these things, of which, of course, the king ran roughshod over everybody to say, I'm the ruling member of your society. You all shall bend to my will. They didn't want to go through that again. So essentially, that's where the Constitution came from. Of course, Declaration of Independence a little bit later, but the Constitution truly, or maybe one from the other. But anyway, that's pretty much where they came from in that regard. It was they're looking at it in the basic premise of going, okay, we're not doing that again. All right. So anyway, the George W. Bush appointee, amazingly enough, Judge G. Stephen Agee, A-G-E-E, Agee, joined Richardson in the majority, a direct case where political leanings, I love this, where political leanings of the members of the judiciary impacted the interpretation of American law. No, you hack Eric Mack. What they did was they gave true, good, and full interpretation upon those rights given to you by the creator and limitations upon the government to say you may not do these things. Particular argument, however, seems to support the majority opinion. Younger adults be not ruled equal under the law. A Barack Obama appointee, Judge James A. Wynn Jr., was alone in dissent, arguing that adults aged 18 to 21 years of age are less mature and crime statistics show are more likely to commit a crime with a handgun, but including potentially using it in a suicide. No. The Constitution does not say only for this age group versus this age group. It says American citizens. And if you want to really parcel, if you want to go down to the Second Amendment, they were talking about people from the age of 16 or 17 to like 62, I think it was, because people really didn't live that long back then. But essentially, the situation was as they saw people, and I'm saying not adults, I'm saying people, standing army of the militia, read like everybody who basically could then fight for the homeland. At a certain age, you were a soldier for the United States. You were a member of the militia. You were to be counted upon to defend the country. And those times where we needed to have people to stand up and defend the homeland, you guys were it. Patriot Fever 1776, Patriot Fever reporting with a sick little Patriot 3. Well, that's okay, dude. Anytime that you are present in the room, and I see there's other people outside the room, if you guys wish to join us in the chat room and make commentary or just observe, that's fine too. I tend to think sometimes, though, it does flesh it out a bit more when, more people join in and more people are, basically throwing their 2 cents into the fray and what have you. But yeah, it's fine. It's neither here nor there. If you wish to watch, that's cool. If you don't want to watch, that's cool. If you want to join in and, basically get your 2 cents on board, that's fine as well. Anyway, so Wynn's dissent took the political position versus a constitutional, textual, legal one, according to the majority giving him, I'm sure they were giving him the finger, but, quote, the gun lobby victory in a fight it lost in Capitol Hill more than 50 years ago, end quote, CNN reported. Okay, there is no win or lose for a constitutional fight. It's either the Constitution is utilized and correctly interpreted, or it is a modern form as a living document that you see it for changing for the times, the Constitution does not change as a living document. If you wish to change the Constitution, you better add an amendment, dude, because that's the only way that you're going to make the Constitution different is by tacking on something else. Regarding, like, oh, I don't know, like prohibition, then of course there was the one that said, oh, prohibition's stupid, we're getting rid of it. Yes, those are the times where truly the Constitution is interpreted and either added on or changed in a certain way. But the rights themselves are never added or removed, because enumerated rights under the Constitution are your rights. The rights can neither be taken away or given. They're given to you by your creator. Interpretation therein by man makes it the foible. And of course, it's either a good or a bad interpretation. Let me get out of here. So essentially, basically it's now getting ripped apart by pieces, and those good things have happening. And, it's going to be one of those cases of, well, we're going to see the interpretation either be a good interpretation or a bad interpretation. And it's, what, I'm not going to open that. That one's going to burn me. I'm not going to do that. But I did see that there was a story, and let me see if I can't find a better one here. Let me get this correct in my regard. Oops, hang on a second. Wrong one. Typing in the wrong stuff. Let's see here. Keep myself honest. Okay, there was a mural on the wall in Toledo, Ohio, and it was a wall mural honoring George Floyd. Well, if you want to really get down and dirty, man, that thing, it had people going to it and almost like a religious shrine, people going to it and praying. And of all things, I would tend to think that there was a little bit of an offense taken by the Almighty, and he said, no blanking way, dude. And that wall got fried. Big time. Big time. So what happened there is there was a wall collapse, and you're looking at the wall now, and that mural of George Floyd, it's gone, man. It was a major case of just, it got lit. And there was a major lightning strike. And of course, they're going on with the, oh, yeah, well, it was just like the wall was sagging anyway. So, it was just one of those things where it was just going to happen. And, those things are going to happen, but not with that lightning strike. Oh, no, man. That thing just got fried. So it was a really good lightning strike. The Almighty probably was taking great offense to people having false idols, and he said, I'm going to fix this thing. Yeah, okay. So apparently that's what caused that. When there was a good lightning strike, that thing is now, toast. Let's see. I don't know if you guys caught this one or not. This is a news story that's now been kicking around this Gateway Pundit. But supposedly the January 6th evacuation was not because of the gathering. Oh, no. Nope. It's now coming out that the Congress was evacuated on January 6th, not due to the threat of the Trump supporters walking the hallways. Oh, no. It was because of a pipe bomb threat. That's the part that you're not hearing about. So anyway, let me go through, just scroll through here real quick. Peaceful Trump supporters wandering the halls of U.S. Capitol on January 6th is all big lie. Been fed big lies for months now. Like I said, it's coming from Gateway Pundit, author being Jim Hoft. Democrats and media continues to push the lies. It was never an insurrection. It was never an armed mob. It was a pipe bomb found outside the RNC on the day of the protests. And the Examiner reported on this story back in February. Discovered a pipe bomb outside the Republican National Committee headquarters in Washington on January 6th. Prompted police to evacuate 2 congressional buildings, not as it was believed the attack on the U.S. Capitol, senators heard Tuesday. U.S. Capitol Police learned of the discovery of 2 pipe bombs on Capitol Hill around the same time, just before 1 p.m. ET, Eastern Standard Time, on that Wednesday. Capitol Police reported, Milo, you're pushing it. Capitol Police responded to the one bomb discovered at the RNC staff members' organization's office. Just a flu box from the Capitol Metropolitan Police Department officers responded to a second pipe bomb that was spotted outside the nearby Democratic National Committee headquarters. Each department sent officers to respond, hurting the Capitol Police's ability to secure the Capitol since the MPD was called to the Capitol minutes after the bombs were discovered. Now, if anybody thinks like, the awe-inspiring force of any of these police departments in DC is going to be, locking all this stuff down and, it's going to be like scenes from like, most of these Hollywood jack-off things where they're just like, oh, yeah, the police are so me, or SWAT teams swarming in. And, of course, all this, Hollywood overreach of like, incoming aircraft and all this other falderall. That's not how DC works, man. Most of the time, it's two groups of people just going, what are you doing? What are you doing? And things are just happening in front of them. They're going, oh, snap, now what? For these guys that are supposed to be defending, like, the nation's capital, I got this one. I got this one, sound guy. For those guys supposedly defending the nation's capital, no. Just no. They're just not doing it, okay? Anytime when things are looking crazy and there's times when they need to be just no, there is no meep. They're running over there trying to put out the fires and well, yeah, it's pretty much just yeah. It's crash and burn. it's not happening. So anyway, all these police agencies are now kirking out trying to fix the problems that aren't on the Capitol. Wow. Quote, that resulted in the evacuation of the two congressional buildings, the Cannon House office building, as well as one of the Library of Congress buildings. So it took extensive resources, then Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund said in a joint hearing before the Senate Rules Committee and Senate Homeland Security and Government Affairs Committee Tuesday afternoon. Translation, dude had egg on his face. And so he's like, well, let me tell you what's going on. And, well, we were working really, really hard and we were trying to secure the place and it probably fell on deaf ears. They probably took a long, hard look at him and said, well, looking at your long-standing career here on Capitol Hill and fixing things, we're afraid we're just going to have to give you the gong show and you're out of here. Wow. I mean, you want to talk about comedy of errors. Holy crap. I mean, just holy crap. No other way to say it except for saying what it is, but what it is. Wow. I don't know if you guys heard about this or not, but the Texas Democrats had boogied off so they can't have the voting law rewrite in the Texas Congress. What happened is that the Democrats ran out. So if there's not enough people, they can't have quorum, or enough people to vote, to or from or pro or con. There's not enough people literally on site to actually do the vote. So pretty much they can't hold quorum. Excuse me 1 second here. Karis Entertainment, appreciate you hanging out with me tonight, dude. But anyway, so what happened is that and this is something. There's like two stories inside of this story. This one coming again from Daily Wire. This is humorous. So anyway, these Democrats boogied off to try to hide out in New York City. They chartered a plane, and if you guys saw the plane, they're on the plane with no masks. They posted a picture with no masks. Now, here's the thing. FAA regulations, and trust me, I know this for a fact. I go to the airports all the time doing Uber and Lyft. You have got to wear a mask walking through the airport and any part of the airport. Unless you're actively eating or drinking, you have to be wearing a mask to be doing any of those things in the airport. Then once you plant your ass in the aircraft, you have to be wearing a mask the whole time you're flying, unless you're actively eating or drinking. So these people flying, these Democrat Congress critters, I think they were. The Democrat caucus, I think they're actually like state congressmen versus state senators. So anyway, they couldn't hold quorum because these guys aren't present. Well, they fly in the plane. They're not wearing masks. There's this adjunct and a sidebar to that story right there. First and foremost, the FAA should be fining every single one of those passengers. And I'm not saying that their titles mean jack squat. Any one of those passengers needs to be fined for flying without a mask that has been documented for any of the period in time in which they were flying that plane, in the plane, mind you. They should have been wearing a mask for the flight. Chartered, non-chartered, commercial, non-commercial, they needed to be wearing a mask for the flight. It gets better. They land in New York City. They're doing their, I'm hiding out. I'm washing my panties in the sink, hiding out in the hotel room. There was one of the chicks, she had like things hanging on the shower rod. Like she can't go out and go shopping for things in New York City. Please. So anyway, it gets better. They land in New York City. They're doing their little, I'm going to hide out and sequester myself in this area so you guys can't make me vote, blah, 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 nanny, nanny, nan. But more Texas Democrats are testing positive for coronavirus after fleeing the state. This is getting funny, folks. 2 more Texas Democrats tested positive for coronavirus on Sunday after 3 tested positive last week, which comes amid their stay in Washington, D.C. Oh, they're in D.C. I thought they were in New York, in which they fled as they refused to take part in a legitimate democratic process in the state of Texas. Quote, in light of some positive COVID-19 tests over the weekend, the House Democrat caucus has decided to go beyond CDC guidelines and provide daily rapid tests for all members and staff in Washington, D.C. for this week. The House Texas Democrats sent a statement, quote, as part of this precautionary testing, today, 2 additional members who were fully vaccinated tested positive. All the HDC members who tested positive were feeling good with no symptoms and only mild symptoms. No symptoms or only mild symptoms. Folks, contracting COVID has got a 99.94% survival rate. It's like catching a cold or the flu. The people that usually die from COVID have got just a myriad of other health issues going on. They have secondary health issues that are either life-threatening and they're just on that just razor's edge of maintaining ability to keep surviving, or something just goes boop and pushes them off the cliff edge. Wow. Let me continue on. Late last week, 3 Texas Democrats tested positive for the coronavirus after they met with Vice President Kamala Harris. She tested negative, by the way, supposedly in another news story I read. Friday night, a member of the Texas House Democrat caucus tested positive for COVID. The Texas House Democrats said on Saturday morning, 2 additional members, each of whom were fully vaccinated, tested positive on a rapid test. These people, man, these flipping people. Might be a little bit of the wrath of the big guy. First, Cuba. Now, Iran. The Iranian people are not hardcore following, the Grand High Muftis and, the Ayatollahs and all the rest of those guys. Most of your Iranians are actually exceedingly nice people, and they don't want to deal with all that crap. They want their country back. And seeing what's going on in Cuba, they're getting a little bit of a nudge to that direction. So they're now having in-street protests in Iran. Death to the dictator. Iranians take to the streets in anti-regime protests. Now, here's the thing. I mean, you can look at old classic pictures. Hang on a second. I got to take a bite. This thing's staring at me. I got this meat stick here. It's just staring at me. It's okay. It's better ingredients, but a Slim Jim tastes better. So, Iranians are protesting against their nation's Islamic government. Logan Ray, appreciate you hanging out with me tonight, dude. For the past several weeks, Iran, and it's not Iran, it's Iran, Iran has experienced worsening energy and water shortages. You're run by tin pot dictators. How can it get any better? You're run by religious zealots who really, truly don't care about their people. They just basically want to covet as much money and wealth and political ability and, of course, military just gravitas. They're bad juju. For the past several weeks, Iran's experienced worsening. As the BBC reported, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani, he's a prick, man, acknowledged the inconvenience caused by outages earlier this month. I apologize to our dear people who have faced problems and suffering in the past few days. I urge them to cooperate, quote, by cutting their electrical use, end quote. People complain about power outages and they are right. Dude, look at freaking Puerto Rico. If you want to talk about people who have suffered like power outages, that is incompetence on the grand scale of people just dealing with corrupt and unusually horrifically bad government. I've been to Puerto Rico, okay? I speak some Spanish. I was reading the signs on the wall and the graffiti on the wall. They're not happy with their political leaders. BBC added, oh yeah, and the BBC is really just so centrist. Not. Rouhani explained in a televised remark on Tuesday that the drought meant most of the country's hydroelectric power plants were not operating and that electricity consumption has surged as people use air conditioning to cope with the intense summer heat. Go figure. Videos on social media appear to show crowds in the Shar-e-Ray near Tehran, Shiraz, Amal, and elsewhere overnight. Some people were heard shouting "Death to the dictator" and "Death to death to the dictator" and "Death to Khamenei," and it's Khamenei to Supreme Leader Ayatollah Al Khamenei. You ever notice like all these Ayatollah guys always have like really, really similar names? I think what it is in Arabic is you only have to change a few symbols, and it's just like, you have, the one guy, and then you have the next guy. And their names are really, really so similar. It takes a minor amount of tweaking and paint work that, it's like, oh, this is Al Khamenei, this is Al Kamani. These guys, they're not cousins, they're not brothers, they're not friends, but, you change their names just enough. You don't have to paint a whole hell of a lot of work on the signs to make their names look right. See, scroll. Protests continued over the past weekend as the water remains scarce, BBC reported again on Saturday. The water crisis has devastated agriculture and livestock farming and has led to electrical, I don't know why they keep saying this, has led to electricity blackouts. Electrical blackouts. Earlier this month, protests broke out in a number of cities across the country. Authorities blame reduced rainfall for the situation. Dude, you're in the freaking Mediterranean close to the desert. How much rainfall do you really have? Saying many hydroelectric power plants are not operating and electrical consumption has surged as people use air conditioning to cope with the intense summer heat. But many locals say the problem is mismanagement and corruption. What was I saying a few minutes ago about, PR being run by corrupt and not very, good leaders? The Ayatollah guys really, truly don't care what happens to the Iranian people at all. At all. They just want to stay in power. Masih Alinjad, an Iranian American journalist who was nearly kidnapped on American soil by Iranian government, likewise called the protest anti-regime demonstrations. Dude nails it. Kazakhstan doesn't have water. The regime is to blame for wrong water policies, she said on Twitter. Well, she's absolutely, completely right. These innocent people of Kazakhstan want water. That's hashtag Kazakhstan. Want to water, she commented in another post. The regime has deprived them of this vital resource of life. Watch how the Islamic Republic of Iran shoots at protesters in Susangard because they simply ask why they lack water. That's usually what happens with the tin pot guys. They know that they're like creeping that ragged edge of losing power, so they have to make a big show of force. So, their guys know, oh, don't push too hard or you're going to have problems with us, buddy. Yeah. Let's see. At least one protester. At least one protester was reportedly been killed. World Bank states that Iran is facing economic hardships due to COVID-19, rampant inflation, and high government debt. Could it have maybe been that we had some "we're not doing business with you" type of stuff when Trump was in office? I think that may have been the case as well. The nation's experiencing severe economic contractions for the last 2 years leading up to the outbreak of COVID-19. They're not. They will not. They will. I got, Thor's hammer. They will not give credit to Donald Trump for putting all the cases of financial disruption into Iran to make them lose face, lose power, and kind of get that snowball on top of the hill and just boop, and watch it roll down to it's a big avalanche. They will not give Donald Trump any credit whatsoever for starting that ball rolling for potentially the people in Iran to be free and unshackle themselves of the religious morons running the place currently who really, truly are just inept, corrupt, and just absolute, I really want to curse here, dickheads. I think that's about as good as I'm going to get, okay? Now, scrolling down a little bit further, as the Daily Wire reported, citizens of Cuba have taken to the streets for similar reasons. Okay, you have a tin pot dictator versus a communist regime. There's a lot of crossovers there, folks. The proletariat are doing great while the bourgeoisie are suffering. Or the proletariat are doing bad, the bourgeoisie are doing great. That's what it is. I really don't know the social structure of like communists. I just know some of the phrases. But anyway, looking at things as it is, you're seeing these countries starting to go full circle for pretty much the people are just bloody well sick of it. And they want to be done with it. They want to have the ability to make their countries great again. Sound a little familiar? If you look at there's some pictures floating around of Iran back in the 1960s. You would swear it looks like a college campus in California. I mean, everybody's dressed normally. The chicks are hot. The chicks are dressed normally. Everybody's having a good time. Society was doing great. And then this hardcore Muslim faction got into power, and they pretty much made everybody start wearing burqas, start following all the hardcore rules of, Islam, and pretty much made everybody just live in a society that is just despotic. I mean, it's the only way to really just describe it. It's just despotic. Let me see here real quick. Patriot Fever says, didn't we give them a wad of cash under Obama? What happened to that? Well, you want to know the short trip of that cash? The cash went to Iran. The cash then went to the Palestinians. And, of course, it went to other places because, Iran likes to play games with, like that whole kind of like chessboard thing where you send your pawns in there to take the hit. Yeah. They're basically doing just long-distance obnoxious stuff by sending arms and munitions down to Palestine because the Palestinians have a really good habit of screwing with the Israelis. And the Israelis fall, the Iranians are going to be happy because they don't really like the Jews much to begin with. That's where that money went. Or it enriched the guys in Iran, and of course the country is not doing so much better because rich guys really don't give a crap about people under them because, well, they're rich guys and they get everything that they need. Yeah. This I find to be bloody damn hilarious, but supposedly President Biden declared solidarity with, quote, the Cuban people and the clarion call for freedom and relief from the tragic grip of the pandemic and from the decades of repression, economic suffering which they've been subjected by Cuba's authoritarian regime, end quote. Notice, he does not say communism. Yeah, authoritarian regime. And I guarantee you, that was not words coming out of his brain pan. That was a piece of paper that he was... I got to read it out loud. Okay. Or it was on the, the screen in front of him. He's a teleprompter guy at best, okay? He's not a good, just off-the-cuff speaker. Trust me in that regard. He lauded the Cuban people for, quote, bravely asserting fundamental and universal rights, including, quote, the right for peaceful protest, the right to freely determine their own future, end quote. Asshole. Get used to that like of thinking because we've always had it. Yeah, we think like that. We've always espoused that virtue. We've always tried to export that to other places. Why do you think the Cuban people are walking around waving American flags? So, Joe, Booby, dude, see it for what it is, okay? There's no way in the world that you can simply say for anything of what it is different than what it is because Mr. You are not only brain dead and clueless, but you have absolutely no way of looking for the forest, for the trees in front of you, of the bloody, obvious truth that everybody else can see for what it is. Communism don't work. Socialism don't work. Oh, but it's never been tried enough in the proper way if we've ever actually gotten the full extent of it, blah, 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 blah. Venezuela. Venezuela is socialism run the way it's supposed to be run. If you look at the way that Marx described socialism or communism, because everything that starts as an ism winds up as communism, is essentially the most amount of control of others with the smallest amount of people. So pretty much you have the ruling class, the bourgeoisie, controlling the proletariat. The smallest amount of those guys are controlling the largest group of the people under them. And, you know, the guys who are living high on the hog, they're not the guys who are pretty much the everyman. Although Biden has not amended America's trade embargo on Cuba, the commander-in-chief recently walked back sanctions on Iran meant to limit illicit oil trade. Oh, please make a couple of dollars selling oil. There's a reason why Trump put those sanctions on there. Yeah. The 2-year run-up trying to get rid of the authoritarian. Truly disgusting when these guys don't call it for what it is. Well, we're just going to simply omit anything that's positive and, you know, done by Trump. We have to make him the white elephant in the room that nobody really wants to talk about because the guy had policies that worked. Speaking of stuff that doesn't work, I cannot begin to tell you how much this one kind of cracks me up, but this is another story of the false premise of gun control. Just give me 1 second here. If you guys know anything about Mexico's gun laws, they're pretty tight. The ability to get and maintain a firearm down there, it's usually like it's almost like the Australians. You know, you have like specific calibers are allowed, specific varieties of weapons are allowed. You're only allowed to have a certain number of ammunition. You're only allowed to have a certain kind of firearm of certain quantity therein. And it's like the running joke in the United States. It's like, say, hey, dude, how many guns you got? And, it's just generic statement, okay? Dude, how many guns you got? And the guy goes, I think I got 5. It's like, all right, well, if you know how many guns you have, you probably should go get some more because when you get to the point where you don't know how many guns you have, then you got enough guns, but then you probably want even more. Anyway, in terms of what happened, and I cannot begin to do this justice. This is coming from ammoland.com, but this is classic. And you have to think about like the sheer number and weight of what I am talking about here, because stuff I'm talking about is basically brass, lead, copper, steel. None of that stuff is light. The packaging materials all add weight. All right. What are we talking about here, folks? Mexican bandits stole 7 million rounds of ammunition. Now, that sounds pretty impressive, and you're like, holy snap, man, 7 million rounds? Wow. Okay, it's reported that 7,114,500 rounds of sporting ammunition was stolen in the state of Guanajuato. Guanajuato, I think that's how it's said. It's like Guana, and then the J, so Juanto. I think it's Guanajuato. The value of the ammunition was reported to be over $2.7 million. Not a small amount of money, but, not a bank breaker in some, corporate aspects. The correspondent checked the reported value and market conditions in the United States. Okay, that's not what the market conditions are in Mexico, all right? The value falls within retail pricing during the current ammunition bubble. In real-world numbers, you could probably take about a third of that. It's probably about $1.7 million, maybe about $1.6 million in real world numbers. Okay, the gross overinflation of ammo prices right now seems to be about 30 to 50%. The event took place in a town called San Luis de Paz. According to Milenio, Milenio? Yeah, Milenio. Here's the translation. In an unprecedented event, criminals in Guanajuato, Guanajuato, whatever. So in that town, managed to steal such a quantity of ammunition when they attacked two cargo units that were circulating on Highway 57 near the municipality of San Luis de Paz, according to information provided by a delegation of the Office of the Attorney General of the Republic in the entity. That's a really bad translation, folks. The ammunition was being transported inside two semi-truck trailers in partial loads in each vehicle. The weight of the ammunition was about 4 or 5 tons. Now, let's break this down for a second, okay? A box of 22 ammo is about like that, right? It's about the size of a couple of matchbooks. You know, you figure 22 ammo is not really heavy. 9 mils about the size of, pretty much like about yay. 45 maybe is a little bigger. 40 S&W is maybe a little bigger. Rifle ammo tends to be smaller boxes because it's smaller quantity of ammo, but it's bigger cartridges. So, the weight of ammo is 4 or 5 tons. A semi-trailer can easily carry 10 tons. Wrong. A semi-trailer can easily carry more than that. A tractor trailer full up weighs 80,000 pounds. Okay, so they didn't do the math right. Some sources claimed 98.5% of the ammunition was 22 rimfire cartridges. A detailed list from a later source showed about 89% of the cartridges were 22 rimfire. Now, there's a big ammunition company in Mexico called Aguila, which is Spanish for eagle. So Aguila is like the big 22 ammo corporation. They make 9 mil, 45, 40 S&W, the myriad of cartridge types they make. But they say predominantly the ammunition seized was 22. So what do we have for the breakdown of ammunition? 4,872,000 rounds of high-velocity long rifle cartridges, solid point. 1,230,000 rounds of high-velocity long rifle, hollow point. 295,000 rounds of 40 S&W pistol cartridges, 215,000 rounds of 22 long rifle Super Calibre garden loads, which are like, little light target loads. 117,000 rounds of 45 auto, 100,000 rounds of 38 special, 99,000 of 410 7.5 shot cartridges, basically small shotgun shells. 87,000 of 7.62 by 5.1 NATO, so basically 308 Winchester. FMJ cartridges, 71,500 12-gauge mini shells, so basically the short little 12-gauge shells that Aguila is known for. 25,038 Super plus P handgun cartridges. Now, that's kind of one of the weird things in Mexico is they really don't play with the 357s as much. As a matter of fact, there's actually a following down there for 38 Super, which is really unusual because 38 Super was a big deal back in like the 1930s, kind of towing the 1940s, but when the 357 Magnum revolver came out, it pretty much rendered it, null and void. Even though the 38 Super is usually carried in, of all things, a 1911 configuration pistol. So roughly about the same thing as a 45 ACP in pistol form is roughly the same thing as a 38 Super. Now, 38 Super, 130 grain cartridge at about 13, almost 1,400 rounds, 13, almost 1,400 feet per second. It's really damn close to a 357 Magnum, man. It's a hot hunt. So let's see. Going down further, there was 3,000 12-gauge mini cell slug loads. So according to AP, a spokesman for Technos, which owns Aguila brand, said Mexican drug cartels are unlikely to use the 22 rimfire. So what do you think these buttholes are going to do with 5 or 6 million, almost 6 million rounds of 22 ammo, almost 600, almost 6 million and a $250,000 on top of that of 22 ammo. What do you think these guys are going to do with it? They're probably just going to throw it in a campfire, light it off, and watch it all pop. That's the kind of mindset those guys have. So let's see. The 22 ammo will be of no use to them, given they don't use those weapons, said security analyst Juan Abarola, who acts as a spokesman for the Technos Industries company. All their cartridges listed in high demand in the black market in Mexico and in the legal market in the United States. 22, sure. 40 S&W, not so much. Let me see. Scroll. You will note there is no 9mm listed in that cartridge list. And you might say, well, why is that, dude? Well, it's because 9mm is a military cartridge, and they do not sell 9mm pistols to the general public in Mexico. Hence the 38 Super. Looking in the room here. Gator Red, appreciate you coming by, dude. Talked to a guy in Down Under in a CZ USA 550 and 6.5 by 55 was his for $5,000 and wait for the check. He said it was like to move here, but got mine for $700. Worked for a guy that said it's new in the yeah, dude. I know that Australian stuff is absolutely insane for firearms prices. You know, you got to have everything locked up in a certain way. You have to have a certain amount of ammunition. You can only have a certain amount of kind of firearms. You can't have a semi-automatic of some varieties. You can have a semi-auto that's only 22. You can have this, that, the other thing, but you can't have that. It's there's standard regulations that are just, you know, limitations upon all this stuff. Patriot Fever, also known as a day at the range with dude. Oh yeah, yeah. Also, Patriot Fever says Operation Fast and the Furious Mexican standoff. Oh man, they're powerful enough to be used for defense purposes, but not as a primary choice of self-defense. Both 22 rimfire and 12-gauge shotguns are commonly used by the spontaneous militias, which are formed in some Mexican states to battle with the forces of various drug cartels. Yeah, the theft of ammunition may have been based on inside information. The thieves seemed to have known what they wanted and where it was located. No shots were fired during the encounter, and no one was killed. Yeah, because they pretty much said, hey, man, get out of the truck. You know, we'll give you some money. Oh, please don't shoot me, sir. Thanks for the cash. No, please don't shoot me, sir. Yeah, it's a scam. The meat's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. Aguila has become a major player in the global market. During the 22 ammunition bubble from 2012 to 2016, Aguila doubled its production to the greatest share of the market, especially in the United States. Aguila is ridiculously popular. It's the funny thing about it is if you know the history of it, excuse me 1 second here. There was an expansion and a contraction of the American firearms industry to where everybody that had a gun company usually had an ammo company. So, you know, Remington had, you know, Big Green. You know, they basically make their rifles and all the rest of that stuff. And they also make ammunition to shoot and all their rifles and what have you. Winchester, you know, they basically make the firearms. And, of course, they make the ammunition to put into the firearms. Well, Winchester fell upon financial hard times. And some of the operations, they sold off. There used to be a Winchester location in Australia. No longer. There used to be a Winchester location in Mexico. No longer. Well, all that equipment and all that stuff that was used to make ammunition is now Aguila. So that's where that came from. Aguila is actually Mexican Winchester ammunition. They're still making ammunition. They just simply changed the head stamp to say instead of, you know, the big W, they put the eagle on there. Boom, done. Let's see. Steve Albers, appreciate you coming on. Stephen Albers, appreciate you coming on by, dude. Bolt action 22 rifle, pop bottle, pool noodle makes a hell of a removal tool. Yeah, well, dude, I cannot sanction or give quantity or quality to that one, but yeah. The 22 long rifle, if it's a subsonic load, is very, very easily made very, very quiet. You can look on the internet for what to put onto what and how, you know, which means of which to do that thing. However, unfortunately, because of, you know, YouTube and all the rest of those fun things with all the screaming meme letter agencies, unfortunately, I can't give that any justification. But we all know what I'm talking about. You screw something onto something, and instead of going, it goes, yeah. Get a red said saw some guy report 4 guys had 16 rifles and 10,000 rounds of ammo in a hotel or a motel. It's nasty here, bad storm. Well, dude, you know, if you got 4 guys with, you know, 16 rifles and 10,000 rounds of ammo, that's pretty much like they're ready to just bunker in. Yeah, Steve Albers or cotton balls. SWAT was called. The cops found all his firearms and ammo. The people worried. You You know, it's not illegal to have a gun and a large quantity of ammunition, okay? That doesn't make you automatically a criminal. At all. Let's see. Oh. Industry insiders have told the author the regulatory environment inside the United States was a major obstacle that prevented the expansion of American production of rimfire ammunition. Go to Mexico. They don't care. They really don't care. Let's see. Scrolly. I don't know if you guys caught up on this one or not, but DC, bang, bang. Holy crap. Mrs. Dude was telling me about this one. There was a ball game going on at the nation's ballpark in Southeast Washington, D.C., and I know where it is. Trust me, folks. I know exactly where that ballpark is. Let's see. Gunners of America Director of Federal Affairs Aiden Johnson responded after the apparent gang-related shooting took place near the Washington Nationals ballpark on Saturday. Dude, there was rounds going into the place, okay? Like, literally, there was people, ducking cover. There was people one of my friends contacting. There was people ducking cover as rounds were flying into the place. Supposedly, people were, the ball players were grabbing people and taking them into the dugout for cover. And those things would be situations where, things are going. Supposedly, the rounds were going in and they were like impacting either the wall or impacting the ball field. And people were like, oh, snap, we're getting incoming rounds. Duck. Now, the thing about it is if you live in the city and you hear, rounds being fired, you hear things hitting things, you know to get some cover, okay? Those guys have seen enough people drop down dead that they know what incoming rounds sound like and incoming bullets look like and all the rest of that fun folderol. They know, find cover, duck and cover. It's not going to be good. Anyway, so the thing about it is DC has some of the harshest gun control laws on the planet. Didn't stop the bad guys. Didn't stop the bad guys from going to the ballpark. The bad guys did everything they wanted to do in the ballpark. Why? Because bad guys don't care about gun laws. That's what makes them bad guys. Like the guy says in the article, criminals don't obey gun laws. For the safety of Major League Baseball fans, Mayor Bowser and the National Park must eliminate draconian restrictions on rights to self-defense. Dude, if I'd been armed up and I saw somebody drawing down and popping off rounds, it would have gotten really, really blank and interesting because dude would have been basically ducking for cover because I would have had incoming rounds on him and he would have been going, oh, snap, this is not a good place to be. Now, the thing about it is anytime you see like the stats for gun control and all these guns are so dangerous, 90% of the time a weapon is shown to a bad guy. They're like, you know what? It's not a good place to be. I'm going to roll out. And they leave. Mayor Bowser. How appropriate, man. Mayor Bowser. She kind of is a hound. I can't do that justice. Let's see. I don't know if you guys caught up on this one, but supposedly the coronavirus-prone Texas Democrats hiding out just got stripped of a leadership post. Tired of playing with them. Texas House Speaker Dade Phelan, Republican, stripped Representative Joe Moody, Democrat, of his leadership position as Speaker Pro Tem Thursday after the Democrat fled from the state to break quorum and prevent the House from passing legislation. Quote, pursuant to my authority under House Rule 1, Section 10, I have relieved Representative Joe Moody from his position of Speaker Pro Tempore for the 87th legislature, effective immediately. Phelan wrote in a memory without giving a reason for the removal. He removed him because he's a dickhead. That's why. Let's see. Scroll. I don't know if you guys caught up about this one or not, but Rand Paul, oh my stars and garters, caught Fauci and really just skewered him. And I cannot begin to tell you how funny I find this. And I can only express this with just this simple means of motivation done by those members on the left side of the aisle. When caught in the indefensible, assign those actions you do upon others to defray their arguments. So, what happened? Rand Paul called Fauci basically a liar, and you're lying to Congress. And then Fauci said, "No, you're actually the liar, Senator." I'm not going to justify it any further. You guys can look it up. But basically what Paul said to him was this. Dr. Fauci, as you're aware, it is a crime to lie to Congress, Paul said. On May 11, you stated that the NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain as of function research and the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And yet, gain of function research was done entirely in Wuhan Institute and funded by the NIH. Now, here's the funny thing. Before Fauci could even say something like, "Well, you're in copy, you don't even know what you're talking about," Rand Paul is a doctor of ophthalmology. He's a surgeon of ophthalmology. He's a doctor, okay? He knows basic virology. He knows how these things work. He can look at the scribbles and Chinese gibberish of, the high math and all the rest of that falderall, and he can make sense out of it. If not, it might take him a little longer to understand it completely, but because he's a medical doctor, he knows of which he speaks. So, supposedly, Fauci was like, "Well, you're the one lying, Senator. You don't know what you're talking about." Remember that part I said about assigning that to the guy of which you're basically guilty of doing? Yeah, you're lying. No, you're lying. No, you're lying. No, right. Right. Next thing you hear is a cat fight going on. It's just going to get really, really blank and stupid. I mean, you're trying to do anything, and you have these screaming Mimeites on the left just basically throwing gaslighting, and of course, just doing all kinds of stupid, oh, great. Oh, jeez. My cats hate when I play that one, but I just, for some reason, that last 10 seconds of them scrapping like crazy just cracks me up. Anyway, so that's kind of what's going on there. It's just, just fur flying everywhere. This one truly did, and I do mean absolutely tickled me to no small degree. Oh, this is coming from youngconservative.net, and I cannot do this justice except to stress it for what it is. Holy schnackies. This is funny stuff here, folks. Panic ensues. This is from youngconservative.net. Panic ensues as Biden shortages hit Starbucks and Taco Bell. The Biden shortage is causing quite a panic amongst those who love their lattes and grande tacos. The left will continue to blame the shortages on COVID. They show complete disregard to the facts that the economic policies of the Biden administration are destroying our economy. Okay, folks, you can't hard reset the economy after you shut it down for a year. It does not work like that. You simply just can't turn things off, turn them back on, hope for the best, and go, "Oh, yeah, everything's going to be back. It's going to be back exactly where it is." Because in that year of time, companies are going to fold. Companies are going to say, "You know what? I'm going to do something different. It's just not worth firing it back up again because the amount of cash that I'm going to have to expend to get everything working again is just not worth it." Stephen Albers, appreciate you coming on by, dude. This will be on review if you want to catch it later on. Appreciate you hanging out with me, man. Let's see. Furthermore, the left continues to fight for free money for those who are unwilling to go back to work. We have more open jobs in this country than we have people to fill them. No kidding. But anyway, Jonathan Mays of Restaurant Business reports, supply chain problems continue to plague the restaurant industry, leading big chains Taco Bell and Starbucks to warn consumers on Monday that some items might not be available. Starbucks told customers on its app, quote, "Due to supply shortages, some items are temporarily unavailable," end quote. That echoed warnings that persisted on chains locations for months. Consumers have complained on social media channels about periodic shortages of items such as green tea. Well, that hits me where I live because I like the green tea frappuccinos. I don't get them much, but I do like green tea. At Taco Bell, customers are complaining about the lack of hot sauce. The Mexican fast food chain's website warns customers not all the availables are available at the moment. Dude, Go to your grocery store, get a bottle of Cholula, get a bottle of El Tateco. There's many good Mexican hot sauces that are like $2 or $3 a bottle. You don't need to get the disgusting stuff from Toxic Hell. Did you ever happen to read the ingredients on those little packages? Yeah. At Taco Bell, customers are complaining about the lack of hot sauce. Quote, sorry if we can't feed your current crave. Due to national ingredient shortages and delivery delays, we may be out of some items. An orange banner with bold lettering read on top of one of Taco Bell's websites. Ugh. The company owned by the Louisville, Kentucky-based Yum Brands blamed transportation problems for the shortages. Quote, due to national transportation delays happening throughout most of the industry, we may be temporarily out of some items. Apologies for the inconvenience and hope you feed fans courage Taco Bell's cravings soon. Okay, now I cannot do this justice, folks, but the tweets that they're on here, I cannot do this justice, folks. Quote from Brian. Taco Bell employee told me there's a national shortage of everything right now, and I've decided to get my economic news exclusively from drive-thru employees from now on. Steven Johnson. The pandemic has brought on a lot of shortages that I've been able to deal with. Today, however, my Taco Bell told me there's a mild sauce shortage, and they ran out. There's one product shortage too many. Now that's serious. Stop voting for Democrats. For everyone craving Taco Bell tonight, I'll save you the drive. They don't have chicken or beef, national shortage or something. I just ate a black bean and a hard shell. Was not worth it. Is Taco Bell on a shredded cheese shortage? It's pretty bad when you can count the strands. These are like tweet after tweet. If it's a worldwide cheese shortage, I'm about to freak out. And the cup has just dribs and drabs in it. Rough times in America when consumers are used to instant gratification of obtaining almost any item or service at their fingertips. Shortages are pushing some to the edge of insanity over petty things like fast food tacos. These people really truly need to just get a damn existence in their lives. Oh man, my Taco Bell's not the same Taco Bell. Ugh. Dude, go to the grocery store, buy the ingredients, make your own blanking tacos. My God, it's not that hard to make a taco. Equal parts. Onion powder, garlic powder, cumin, chili powder, a little salt, a little bit of hot pepper. That's taco seasoning, folks. It's not rocket science. Wow. Get it right. Heard trucking rules and changes in trucking and owner-operators. Patriot fever. Wait until the snowflakes learn the health department won't let Starbucks fill their own containers. Patriot fever. There's only 3 hot sauces: Tabasco, Frank's, and Sriracha. Actually, no, dude. There's a myriad of better ones that are just all over the shelf. It's just basically your taste preferences. El Tolteca, I think it is. El Tolteca, and Cholula are like 2 of my absolute favorites. Those things are just phenomenal. All right, so I think what we're talking about all this hot sauce and stuff. I got some other stories I can go into, but it's getting like the 10 o'clock time period. I want to get into other stuff. So what else do we have going on here? So let me take a real quick snoop and what is it? Well, I think it might be a case of it's not that weird, but I'll get something here to eat. All right, sound guy, get that good sound effect.
Blow it out your ass.
Wrong sound effect, sound guy. Anyway, so he's at it again, folks. All right, so anyway, I basically found this one. The Walmart bacon jerky is pretty good. I mean, it's one of those ones I can find with fairly good regularity, and I will actually eat the Walmart bacon jerky. I figured I'd give the Jack Links a whirl here. I was going through a Walmart, saw it hanging somewhere, and basically snagged a bag, so I figured I'd give it a whirl. So, let me give this thing a try. No, it didn't hiss. It didn't hiss at all. That's not a good or a bad sign, because they don't pack stuff like that under pressure or not in pressure. Okay, sniff check. Smells like bacon, surprisingly enough. All right, so let me give this thing a whirl. Let me get a single piece here so you guys can see it. And it is, obviously, coming out of here, it is bacon jerky. Hang on a second here. It's fighting with me. It is bacon jerky. So, eating bacon jerky with chopsticks. Is that even wise? I commend it to you. Tabs and companions. Oh. Mmm. 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 Okay. If you were camping someplace and you didn't have access to bacon, you could use this. Is it good bacon? It's all right. Mm. Mm. This one is a strict bacon flavor. The Walmart one is like a kind of like a maple thing. So it's like sweeter and kind of a little more unctuous and what have you. This one's actually pretty unctuous too. You know, that kind of mouthy, fatty feel. Truthfully, this one is not bad. I think it was like just under $4 for the bag. And it is a quantity size of, was it 2.5 ounces? So if you're going camping someplace and you don't have access to bacon, you can pitch a couple of these guys in your backpack and you would have some bacon handy. Is it good bacon? It's all right. I mean, I've had better, I've had worse, but yeah, it's middle of the road bacon. It's okay. Just give me 1 second here. And yeah, that is coffee. Okay, so believe me in that one, that is coffee. Patriot Fever. I hear that Kamala has tacos come naturally to her. Oh no! Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, there's no green stuff on it that's not lettuce. On that one, I shall pass. No more. Let me scroll. Scrolly. There's some other stories going on now. Like, you know, one of the guys that actually was one of the progenitors of the mRNA technology. This is coming from Team Tucker Carlson. So teamtuckercarlson.com. The guy is, quote, stating, "This is worrying me quite a bit," end quote. mRNA vaccine inventor shares viral thread showing COVID surge in most vaxxed countries. So, did it work? Did it not work? Don't know. I mean, we probably to figure out who's who and what's what going on there. And so let's see here. Let's see. This is Dr. Robert Malone, a pioneer in the field of mRNA. You know, the little M with all the big letters after it. Vaccines shared a viral Twitter thread on Friday. Lays out a disturbing trend that most vaccinated countries in the world are experiencing a surge in COVID-19 cases, while the least vaccinated countries are not. Quote, "This is worrying me quite a bit," tweeted Malone, embedded in a lengthy thread authored by Twitter user at Holman Collin, which is Corona Realism, via the Thread Reader app. And it's getting interesting. So you basically have like this, you know, kind of surge thing going on. I do have this on my Gab page. And scrolly. And it's a big breakdown. I mean, you pretty much would have to need to like, you know, really just like, what the hell's this thing doing to me here? It's Win 10 stuff that's being annoying. Anyway, so looking at the chart, it's looking like the shot didn't quite work there. What's special about the small kingdom of Bhutan is that they jabbed 64% of the population within 1 week, starting in 3/27. Just 3 days after the start of roll up, the cases went up. Wow. So you might want to check this article out. Team Tucker Carlson News. This is worrying me quite a bit. Vaccine inventor shares viral thread and showing current. You know, it's out there. Okay, but basically, what the guy's saying is the shot might not be working. And yet again, I cannot do this justice, folks. But I will not, and you can take this as gospel. I will not ever put Black Rifle Coffee Company coffee in my cup, ever. Not so much the fact that they blew off Kyle Rittenhouse and all the rest of that fun stuff, but the disgusting verbiage that they've been using recently to say that they are, woke enough to talk to the New York Times in all their idiocy. I don't know why in the world somebody didn't just grab them by the balls and say, don't do this. But supposedly they talked to the New York Times and said that, the quote unquote racist, proud, how do I say this without, making YouTube get interested? B-boys, the proud B-boys, so you can say they're not girls, but girls and boys. There you go. The proud girls and boys. There you go. So the proud girls and boys, of which you just leave the girls out. So anyway, what it is these guys basically are woke enough to take an interview with the New York Times, I believe it was, and state that they are so anti-racist and they want nothing to do with these guys that they will literally buy them out of their membership of buying coffee for them. They don't want a thing to do with them and, all the rest of this happy horse mess, and pretty much sucked up completely to that side of the aisle. You might want to see this one as kind of cute and interesting, but supposedly he didn't really just, look bad in terms of like the last conservative get together in terms of their polling, but Pence is not doing good at all in the Republican aspect of things. This is coming from all things, the Daily Mail UK. Republicans consider Mike Pence the quote-unquote antichrist who has been quote-unquote shunned from the MAGA movement and do not believe he will make it on the 2024 ticket. Do you think? He's been on the speaking circuit once again, less than a year after leaving office, but his reception has been lukewarm at best and furious at worst. Now, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but where he basically stood up and he was trying to speak and everybody started screaming traitor. Yeah, like they literally had to tell the crowd, look, we're better than the other guys on the other side of the aisle. Can you please stop? And eventually those people settled down, but they did not let it be known, in the slightest that they were not unhappy. They let Pence know in no uncertain terms they are not content with him running as the guy at all. So he's not going to do good. Conversely, and interestingly enough, there's been dinner get-togethers with, the Donald, read like Donald John Trump, and they've asked him, are you going to run? Are you thinking of running again for president? And characteristically enough, the guy's got a set of nuts and he doesn't care what people think about him. So it's gotten leaked out that he is thinking of running in 2024. That would be cool. There's now multiple lawsuits against, I cannot address him except for, properly. Okay. I cannot call him anything but what he is. So Mr. President, oh, he's done it again, folks. He literally has done it again. So supposedly Biden, I said it. I cursed. I'm sorry. Yeah. Joe. I need a palate cleanser. I'm sorry about that one. So President Joe. Okay. Since spinning by multiple lawsuits, Joe may have committed major violation by stopping border funds. Oops. When Joe Biden took office in January, everybody knew the former president, Donald Trump's most controversial project was in trouble. After all, Democrat leaders told him they've been trying to stop it for years, told us they've been trying to stop it for years. So no one is really surprised when Biden halted funding for the southern border wall. State leaders weren't too happy with the result, though, and they complained of huge foreign surges ever since crossing across the border because that's what they do. As it turns out, the president may have committed a serious violation. That's what Representative Jason Smith from the House Budget Committee alleges. In a letter obtained by the Daily Caller, Smith called on states' attorneys generals to take legal action against Biden. Smith believes he has a case, too. When Biden froze border wall assets, Smith says POTUS may have violated the Impoundment Control Act of 1974, quote, which asserted Congress the sole authority over budgetary spending, end quote. If accurate, the president might face some difficult questions. But I really don't see the Democrats going, hey, President, did you mean to do this? Oh, well, no. So, President, do you really think that you could put the money back in some way of doing it? I got to talk to my people to see if I can really do that. Okay, thank you, President. Yeah, and that's pretty much just going to be about the size of it. I really don't see anything happening out of this, but it is interesting precedent. Look at the room. Gator Red said bolt closed. Oh, sweating last night. Hammer and the capper pin at Bent and Locknut Lee. Not like RPS dies. The pin moves and gets got parts coming. Screwed up the FedEx. Oh, okay. Bolt closed. Still together. Channel. So basically, you're having issues with the decapping pin. Yeah, sometimes it would be a real pain in the ass on those things. Let's see. Scrolly. I don't know if you guys have heard about this or not, but supposedly Trump's a little pissed. Yeah, he's like really pissed. So supposedly what it is now is Trump is all in to help the GOP retake the Congress, the White House, and he's fired up, man, because he's just one of these guys. You don't bitch slap Donald Trump, okay? You don't bitch slap him. If you do, he's gonna say, you know what? All you did was just make me mad. Now I'm coming back. So essentially, he's poised to go all in. This is coming from trendingpolitics.com. And to help Republicans recapture the House and Senate during the 2022 midterms and the White House again in 2024. Now, here's the thing. In polling right now, Trump is not at the top of the list for president. Top of the list for president is not Donald John Trump. It's DeSantis, the governor of Florida. Now, here's the thing. Is if you look at the way that Florida is being run right now, I would have not a moment's hesitation pulling the lever for DeSantis in the slightest. Trust me, if I had my heart of hearts right now and I basically was financially well-to-do and I could swing it, I would not be in my current state of residence. I would be in Florida. Why? Because, very simply put, it is an economic powerhouse that is doing things right. It is a state that respects and ensures your constitutional liberties are utilized. It's a state that pretty much, well, it's also full of hot chicks and bikinis, but it's it's a good state in which to reside because they actually do allow you to employ those freedoms of which you are delegated and ratified and given by your creator and recognized by the Constitution. They just do it right in Florida, okay? So let's see. Scrolly. I think that was the last story that I had. Orange, what are you doing? Stop. Orange is being annoying. Anyway, let's see here. Gatorade says the channel chat guy, sister. Oh, he might have a pizza. Lucky guy. Okay. Scroll. Looking in the room. Pretty much just going back and forth there. Okay. So that's kind of some of the stuff I've been finding. And the stories I've been finding pretty much are generally on the positive aspect of things improving. The basic premise I could state is, those things that those guys are trying to do on the other side of the aisle, they're not doing so good. As a matter of fact, they seem to be actually losing their power base. They have overextended themselves, and they're doing things in such a way that it's going contrary or counter to the way that the population wants the country to run. So, what can we draw from this? In closing, I'm doing a Sean Connery there. In closing, in closing, I can see things in a positive aspect right now, and I really tend to look more towards the positive than the negative. I'm not one of these screaming memeites that basically is like bemoaning the fact that, everything's wrong on the planet, all the rest of this stuff is wrong. And, The only thing I really see that's humorous right now is the fact that people are not looking the direction that we should be looking. I mean, one of the classic quotes I remember from, Time and Eternal was, of all things, Werner von Braun, literally the rocket scientist that we got with Project Paperclip from the Germans and employed to basically make our rockets fly. And he was stated as saying when he was, basically working with the Nazis, it's like, yeah, well, this V2 rocket's going to be amazing technology, this, and he goes, yeah, but that's not what I wanted to do. It's like, what do you mean? He goes, I didn't want it to land on this planet. So when they go on and on about, the Chinese space technologies, this, that, and the other things, like, dude, have a blast. There's a whole hell of a lot of up there. And when they're up there, they're not going to be doing a whole hell of a lot more down here because they're going to be up there. So go, have a blast, literally. As long as they're not trying to actively take over, like the moon, which, nobody can really take over the moon. If case in point, if you're dumbass enough to basically set up a base on the moon and you're annoying enough, it's really easy to send something over there to just basically blow your ass back out into orbit. It's really not going to be a hard thing to nuke somebody on the moon, okay? It's only a 3-day trip with a rocket. We do this stuff all the time with, other technology. And if you really truly want to think about the way things work in the universe right now, there's only one planet in the universe that we know. In the known universe, there's only one planet that is currently populated by robots. That planet is Mars. Getting people there is going to be a long road to hoe. Mostly because you got to make somebody survive 8 or 9 months of space travel. Well, we put people up on the ISS for a year and they come down and they're like bags of mush. They didn't do so good. So putting somebody up, in space for 9 months, landing them on a planet with less gravity than Earth, and then saying, all right, dude, you're here. Enjoy the ride because you're not coming home, doesn't really reach out to some people to say, yeah, that's exactly the mission we're going to send some people on. Now, there's some people that will do that, and they know it's a one-way mission. They land on Mars. They're stuck on Mars. They'll die on Mars. They're good with it. There's other people that basically say, the mission situation of which it should be, you just send people up. They do their, little blah, 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 blah. They turn around and come back. The problem is you start thinking about like the sheer amount of stuff required to get somebody from here to there and then back here again. It's not going to be an easy road to hoe. If you watch the movie The Martian, they kind of get into the times just a little bit better than I ever truly could. And the thing about it is it's not so much the case of once you're at Mars. It's the case of, okay, the two planets were basically aligned as close as they're going to get. Straight shot, 8-9 months, you're there. During that 8-9 months, things are starting to move away. At the far point, you're talking a few years almost of travel to go from point A to point B. Now, obviously, you're not going to launch a space mission to Mars from Earth. That's just stupid. Launching something from Earth requires way more engine, way more fuel, and just a whole hell of a lot more construction than you would ever truly need to send something up from Mars. I usually describe it as something like this. If you're sending up from Earth, it needs to be constructed like that. If you're sending something up from the moon, it can be constructed like that. 1/6 less gravity, or 1/6 of the gravity. And of course, you're now doing an easy launch off something with a little bit of pull versus all of our pull. That's why those guys were bunny hopping everywhere and doing all that fun stuff. There was people on the moon. I love those guys going, well, we never made a moon landing. Please. Why in the world would we fake moon landings when you can look at a telescope, see the footprints, see the tire tracks, see all the stuff that landed on the moon with a telescope, okay? They were landing on the near side, not on the far side. Not hard to see. All right, folks, I'm going to break up on this one. Appreciate your kind attentions. Of course, you can find me also on Gab. So gab.com/dudejerky80s. Twitter is 80spcc. Of course, you can find me on Dude Jerky 2 on Facebook. And amazingly enough, I'm still actively on Facebook. I don't know what I did right, but I guess the stars aligned, and I'm currently still active on Facebook. Wow, I cannot truly amaze. I'm truly amazed that maybe I'm not posting as much crap smacking on Zuckerberg, but he kind of really truly deserves it sometimes. But I'm gonna break it out, and break off and make my getaway. Appreciate your kind attention. I'm gonna break up this one. Eager Itinerary as always, you know it, you love it, and I'll catch you guys next week, if not sooner, with another video. But catch you guys next time, and have a good one. See you guys.